Scene 1. Padua, 1609. In the year 1609, science light began to shine. At Padua City, in a modest house, Galileo Galilei set out to prove the sun is still, the earth is on the move.
Put the milk down there, but don't shut the books.
Mother says we must pay the milkman, or who's gonna make a circle around our house?
You don't make a circle, Andrea. You describe it.
Whichever.
Whereas when Senior Cambioni, the bailiff, comes straight for us, what sort of line will he make between 2 points?
The shortest?
Terrific. I've got something for you. Check behind the star chart.
What is it?
It's a model. It's a model of how men have always believed the solar system works.
Show me.
Well, then start by describing it.
In the middle, there's a small stone.
Yes, that's the Earth.
Then around it, there are rings, one inside another, like globes.
How many?
8.
Those are the crystal spheres.
Attached to the rings are little balls.
The stars.
Then there are strips of wood with words painted on them.
What words?
Names of stars.
Such as?
The lowest one is the moon. Above, that's the sun.
Yes. Now, make the sun move.
That's so beautiful. But we're so shut in.
Yes. That is what I felt the first time I saw it. Some of us do feel that. For 2,000 years, men have always believed that the sun and all the stars revolve around mankind. The Pope, the cardinals, the princes, the captains, the scholars, the merchants, the fishwives, and even the schoolboys believe themselves to be sitting dead still at the center of a crystal globe. But now, everything is moving. The whole planet is moving. For the last 100 years, it is as if mankind has been poised. But mankind has been waiting, tucked away in a corner, and now the moment is here. At last, we are able to say, just because something is so, that does not mean it will remain so forever. I like to think it started with the ships. For as long as we can remember, the ships hugged the shores. And then suddenly, they began to set sail right across our seas, and on our old continent, a great rumor started. There are new continents, and the ocean we had so feared turned out to be puddles. A great hunger has grown up in all of us to know the reason for everything. Why a stone falls when you drop it, why it rises when you throw it in the air. Every single day, we are learning something new. When I was a young man in Siena, I stood in the street and watched a couple of builders. In just 5 minutes argument, they invented a new system of ropes and pulleys. Without knowing it, they replaced the method of moving granite blocks which men had been using for 1,000 years. And there and then, in that street, I knew that the old age is gone, and that the new age is here. Soon, mankind will know the truth about its home, about the very earth on which we make our lives. Once there was belief, and now in its place, there is doubt. What is written in the books no longer satisfies us. Now we say, yes, we know what it says in the books, but why not just see for ourselves? I predict that in our lifetime, astronomy will be talked about in the marketplace. We believed for so many years that the stars were fixed on these crystal vaults which were there to stop them from falling. But now, we have found the courage to let our stars soar through space, unfettered and free and unfettered as our ships. Everything and everyone is moving. Our ships are moving, our planets are moving. But we take them zooming right across the board. What does that one poet say? Oh, early morning of beginning.
Early mornings of beginnings. Oh, breath of winds from you in distant shores. And you better drink your milk up. There's going to be people here soon.
Did you understand what I told you yesterday?
About Copernicus?
Yes.
How can I understand it? I'm only 11 next October.
But it's you I'm working for. It's why I buy expensive books instead of pay the milkman, so that you and people like you may understand.
But it doesn't make sense. I wake up, the sun is over there. I go to sleep, it's over here. I see it move. Don't tell me it doesn't.
You see? How can you see? You just gawp. Stopping isn't seen. Look. There is the sun. And now is it on your left or your right?
I left.
And how may it get to your right?
If you move it, of course.
Isn't there any other way? Now look at the sun. And where is it?
Am I right?
And did it move?
Not really.
So what moved?
I did.
Wrong, you it. No, the square. The square.
But I moved with it.
Of course, the square is the earth and you're in it.
What on earth are you doing with my son, Signor Galileo?
I'm teaching him to see, Signor Sarti.
By carting him round the room?
Oh, don't, Mother. You don't understand.
No, of course not. And you do, I suppose. Here, another young gentleman in need of tuition, very well dressed and with a letter of introduction. You'll soon have Andrea believe that 2 and 2 make 5. He already muddles up everything you tell him. Yesterday, he was actually trying to prove that the earth goes round the sun. He said a man called Copernicus had worked it out.
It's true. Copernicus did work it out. Didn't he?
After our investigation, Signora Sarti, and after bitter dispute, your son and I have made discoveries which we can no longer withhold from the world. A new age is born. A new age in which it is a joy to be alive.
Then do me a favor, Signor, and take this student. I'm hoping to pay the milkman in this new age.
Well, let me drink it before I pay for it. So, you did believe what I told you yesterday.
No, I just said it to upset her. But it isn't true.
Oh, isn't it?
No, it can't be.
And why not?
I said and worked it out. If the world turns like you say it does, like this, then at night it would all be upside down.
All right. Here is the earth.
No apples. You can prove anything with an apple.
All right, then.
It's all so easy once you start being clever like that. What does it mean the apple is the earth? It means nothing.
Well, perhaps you just don't want to learn.
All right. Why am I not upside down at night?
Here is the earth. And here is you on it. And now the earth rotates.
And now I'm upside down.
No, look, where is your head?
There, down below.
Why? Isn't it in precisely the same position? Aren't your feet still on the ground? You don't stand like this when I turn it, do you?
No. Then why don't I feel the earth turn?
Because you're turning with it. Everything around you is turning together.
Then why does it look like the sun is moving?
Look, the earth is below you. It's always there, and it never moves. But now, look up. And there's a lamp above your head. And now we turn. And what's above your head now?
The stove.
And where's the lamp?
down below?
Well then,
That's brilliant. That's gonna make her real annoyed.
oh my God, this place is like a chicken shed.
Good morning, senor. My name is Ludovico Marsili.
You come from Holland?
Where I heard much of you, Senor Galileo.
Your family owns real estate in the Campagna?
My mother wanted me to have a look around the world, see what's going around.
Yes, and in Holland they said and what's going around?
My mother wants me to understand science.
Well, science is 10 scudi a month.
Very good, senor.
What are your interests?
Horses.
Uh,
I have no real gift for learning.
in this case, 15.
That's fine.
And it will have to be first thing in the morning. And that's your loss, Andrea. He's paying and you're not.
All right, I'm off. Can I eat the apple?
Of course.
You will have to bear with me. The little I know, science and common sense don't mix. For instance, at the moment, but you look through it and everything's 5 times as big.
Everything?
You can see anything, a church spire, a bird.
You yourself have looked through and seen a church spire enlarged?
Yes, senor.
And you said it has 2 lenses?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it looks like this?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How old is this discovery?
I have no idea, but it had only been on the market a few days when I left.
And you're sure about physics. I mean, horse reading, perhaps.
My mother wants me to. Science is all the rage nowadays, you know.
But dead languages are so much easier, or theology even. Oh, you. Right, very well then. Come Tuesday morning. Yes. Don't look at me like that. I took him on.
Only because you saw me. The chancellor of the university is outside.
Excellent. Bring him in. There's 500 scudi in it, and then I shan't need pupils at all. Good morning. Lend us half a scudo. And Signora, send Andrea down to the spectacle makers for me for the lenses. Here are the particulars, yes.
I have called, Senor, to discuss your application for an increase in salary to 1,000 scudi. Sadly, I cannot recommend it to the university.
Cannot manage on 500 scudi.
As I understand it, Senor, you give 2 lectures a week, each of only 2 hours length. Your exceptional reputation must meanwhile bring you all the private pupils you wish.
But Senor, I have too many. I teach, but when do I have time to learn? I'm not clever like the gentlemen who teach philosophy. I'm stupid. My problem is I know nothing at all. I must fill in the gaps in my knowledge, and to do that, I need time. Senor, mine is a discipline, so thirsting for knowledge. In answer to great questions, we still know nothing for sure. We need proof. How am I to provide proof if all of my time is consumed by wealthy idiots who cannot grasp infinity or parallel lines?
Please, you should not forget that while, as you keep telling us, the Republic does not pay as much as certain princes, it does, however, guarantee freedom of research. In Padua, we even admit Protestants to our lectures. We offer them degrees. Not only did we not surrender Signor Cremonini to the Inquisition when it was proved, Signor Galilei, that he had made blasphemous remarks, but we even voted him a higher salary. Throughout Europe, Venice is known as the Republic where the Inquisition has no say.
Your people handed Giordano Bruno over to the authorities in Rome because he spread the teachings of Copernicus.
Not because he spread the teachings of Copernicus, which are, by the way, untrue, signor, but because he was not a Venetian and had no tenure here. He did not belong here. It is hardly our fault he was subsequently burnt at the stake. And for all our freedom, remember, you do well not to mention that name on which the church has laid its anathema. Not even here, signor, not even here.
For you, freedom is good business, yes. The Inquisition rolled and burned elsewhere, so here you get good teachers cheap. You protect us, yes, and in turn you underpay us. I'm free, yes, but what is freedom without free time?
You know the answer, signor.
Do I?
Knowledge is a commodity. It must profit the person who buys it. Philosophy, for instance, as taught by
Yes.
Signor Colombe in Florence, earns the prince over 10,000 scudi a year. Meanwhile, your law, falling bodies, is applauded everywhere, in Paris and Prague. But the men who applaud it there don't pay Padua University anything like what you cost. Perhaps you have chosen the wrong subject.
I see. Free market, free research. Free market in research, is that it?
A republic's thriving economy hardly strikes me as a subject for mockery, Signor Galilei. Nor as chancellor of a great university would I dream of referring to research in so frivolous a tone. Look to the world and how things are outside these walls. All through Italy, learning groans under the whips of bondage. This country is full of places in which nobody cares how a stone falls. All that interests them is what Aristotle wrote about how a stone falls. Here, we accept you. Here you can research, here you can work. Our exporters need better linen against Florentine competition. They care as much as you do for better science, if better science will bring them better looms. Leaders of our community come to visit you, watch your demonstrations, and these are people whose time is valuable. Do not despise the market, Signor Galileo. It is the market which brings you your freedom. Admit it. This is a place where you can work.
Yes. Yes.
If you need money, invent. Something like your famous proportional compasses, which even idiots can use to calculate interest on capital. I've seen them used to weigh cannonballs.
A toy.
What you call a toy is something which has dazzled and amazed the most eminent men in the Republic. I understand even General Stefano Guitti is able to extract square roots from this instrument.
Oh, well then yes, a miracle indeed. You know, maybe I do have something that may interest you.
Excellent. Then this is what we need. Signor Galileo, we know that you were a great man. A great but discontented man, if I may say.
Oh, yes. I am discontented. That is what you would pay me for if you had the wit. I am discontented with myself, but you forced me to be discontented with you. You muzzle the ox which threshes, and I am 46 years old, and I have done nothing in my life which satisfies me.
Then I shall leave you alone.
Thank you. Still not eaten the apple?
No, I wanted to show her how the world turns.
Andrea, I have something to tell you. Speak of our ideas to no one,
Why not?
because the authorities would not wish it.
But it's the truth.
Yes, but it has not yet been proved. Even the teachings of Copernicus have not yet been proved. It's a hypothesis. Now, give me the lenses.
Your half scooter didn't do it. I had to sell them my coat.
How are you to get through the winter without a coat?
What's a hypothesis?
When something is likely but cannot yet be proved. See, we look to the stars and we see so much. We see as much as if we were just worms. The things we have believed for 1,000 years are in the process of collapsing. Their rickety structures are at last giving way. Once there were many laws which explained so little. But there is a new hypothesis, a few new laws which will explain much.
But you proved them.
Not quite, only that they may be so. What we have is a beautiful hypothesis, and there's nothing against that.
I'd like to be a physicist too, Signor Galilei.
Oh, I believe you. An infinity of questions. Oh, wait. Oh, wow. Look at this.
Holy Mary! Everything is near! I can read the words on the company. Oh, grazie.
This will bring us 500.
Scene 2, Venice, 1609. No one's virtue is complete. Great Galileo liked to eat. You will not resent, we hope, the truth in it be spent.
Your Excellency, noble Signoria, as a humble teacher of mathematics at your university and director at your great arsenal in Venice, it is always my duty to not only teach, but to also advance the Republic here in Venice with means of practical invention. So with joy, with deference, I present to you a completely new instrument. My distance glass, my telescope, produced here in your world-famous arsenal, according to the highest scientific and Christian principles, the product of 17 years of patient research.
You'll be able to pay the milkman, my friend.
Excellency, noble Signoria, once again a Venetian hand writes in the book of history. A world-famous scholar here presents to you and you alone a highly sellable cylinder to put on the market in any way you please. And what's more, has it occurred to you a weapon with which in wartime we may see our enemy's ships a full 2 hours before he sees ours? And now, Your Excellency, August Signoria, Signor Galileo asked you to receive this instrument, this fruit of his brilliance, from his very own charming daughter herself.
I'm not sure how long I can handle this charade. Last night, I pointed the tube at the moon.
Hey,
It has no light of its own.
what?
Boat! Look! By Santa Rosita! They're eating lunch, I can see. Lobster! They're eating lobster.
Astronomy has stood still for 1,000 years because it had no telescope.
Oh, Senor Galileo!
They are speaking to you.
One can see everything.
Do you know what the Milky Way consists of?
No.
I do.
Ludovico wants to congratulate you, Father.
I congratulate you, sir.
I have improved it.
Yes, I see that. You have made the cover red. In Holland, it was green.
Signor Galilei, you have done as we asked of you. I think we may say your 500 scudi are safe and secure.
Did I do all right?
You seemed fine to me.
Then what's wrong?
I'm not sure. Perhaps a green casing would have been just as good.
I think they're all pleased with Father.
I think I'm learning a little about science.
Scene 3, Padua, 1610. January 10, 1610, Galileo Galilei abolishes heaven.
The edge of the crescent is uneven. It's jagged, it's rough. On the dark half near the luminous edge, there are luminous spots. They appear one after the other. From the spots, light streams out wider, wider, until it merges with the great luminous part.
Well, how would you describe it?
I can't.
You must. They are mountains.
How can there be mountains on a star?
Mountains. The summits above are gleaming in the rising sun, while the slopes below them are dark. What you are seeing is the sun beaming the mountaintops into the valleys below.
This destroys all astronomy for 2,000 years.
But what you are seeing has been seen by no other living person but me. And you're the second.
The Earth cannot, the moon cannot be an Earth with mountains and valleys any more than the Earth can be a star.
The moon is an Earth, and the Earth is a star. An ordinary heavenly body, one among thousands. Take another look. Is the dark side up in the moon completely dark to you?
No, I can see a sort of feeble gray light.
And where do you think it comes from? It comes from the Earth.
No. No, I mean, how? How is that possible? There's no light on the Earth.
The Earth shines just as the moon shines. It shines from the light of the sun. What the moon is to us, we are to the moon. To the moon, sometimes we are full. Sometimes we are a crescent, and sometimes we are not there at all.
The moon and the Earth are the same. Not 10 years ago, a man was burnt in Rome. He said just that. His name was Giordano Bruno.
I know he said it, but we can see it. Keep your eye there. What you're seeing means there is no difference between heaven and earth. Today is the 10th of January, 1610. In Mankind's diary, he writes, heaven abolished.
That is appalling.
Perhaps. But come, let me show you something more.
The Chancellor.
Forgive me, Signor, I must speak to you in private.
I keep no secrets from my friend here, Sagredo.
It is something incredible.
Sagredo's far used to be incredible. He spends long periods with me.
That wonder, that marvelous thing you invented, it turns out is worthless.
What do you mean?
What you call the fruit of 17 years' research can be bought on any street corner in Italy. Even as we speak, a Dutch cargo ship is unloading 500.
Really?
Does this not concern you?
This instrument may reveal the universe to us. Why should he be concerned?
It is only a matter of chance that when the gentlemen of the Signoria looked through the lens a few days ago, they did not see hawkers peddling the very same instrument on every street corner. The image no doubt 7 times enlarged.
My dear Signora Priuli, I cannot vouch for the commercial value of this instrument. It hardly matters at this point. Its value to philosophy is incalculable.
Philosophy is not mathematics, and philosophy is certainly not this gentleman's field. Signor, your water pump for the city is a triumph. Your irrigation plants function well. I have never heard a word against your cloth weaving machines. How would I have expected you to do this to me?
Please, Senor, I understand, but if you would just listen. We cross the seas in vast expense and in great dangers, but we still need some sort of clock for the sky. I have reason to believe that with my telescope, we may be able to observe the movement of regular stars. New star chart Pearly means millions of beauty can be saved.
I cannot listen. I will not. I showed you nothing but kindness, and you have made me a laughingstock in the city of my birth. I shall be remembered forever as the chancellor who was tricked by a worthless spyglass. Well, may you laugh. You have your 500 scudi, but I am an honest man, and the world disgusts me.
Did you hear that? I can hardly help liking the man when he's angry. A world in which there is no bargain disgusts him.
Had you heard about the Dutch?
Of course. I mean, yes, in some sense, but what does it matter? Do it. I mean, I can hardly work with bailiffs in the house. Mine's twice as good, and it won't be long until Virginia will need a dowry. And I like to buy expensive books, and I like to eat decently. And right now, I can eat. Therefore, I am also thinking. But come, let me show you more.
I have a feeling very like fear.
Let me show you the milk white clouds of the galaxy.
There are stars. Countless stars.
These are the many worlds. The numberless others. The further stars which Giordano spoke. He could not see them, but at last we can.
But even if the Earth is a star, that still does not prove what Copernicus said, that it revolves around the sun.
Segredo, I've been wondering. For a few days now, I have been wondering. There is Jupiter. And there are 4 smaller planets close by. I saw them on Monday. And then yesterday I looked again. I could have sworn all 4 had changed their positions, and I noted them. Now all 4 are different again. What's this? I saw 4. Look,
I see 3.
the 4th. Where has it gone? We must find out, Segredo. We must find out where the 4th one has gone. We must find it. We must find out where the 4th one has gone, Segredo. Oh. Oh, proof. We have proof. The 4th one has gone round behind Jupiter, which is why it cannot be seen. A planet around which another revolves.
But what about the crystal sphere to which Jupiter is fixed?
You're right. How is that possible? How can Jupiter be fixed when other things around it are moved? It simply cannot be so. There is no framework in heaven. Jupiter is simply one more sun.
Calm down, you go too fast.
Who's that? Oh, come on. Don't you see it? They were right.
Who, the Copernicans?
Yes, they were right. And the whole world was against them. This is something Andrea must hear. Senora Sarti!
Will you stop screaming like a lunatic?
Stop standing around like a dead god?
Don't you see that's what I'm afraid of? Do you really not see? Have you really taken leave of your senses? You go around shouting for everyone to hear, the Earth is a star. It is no longer the center of the universe.
Well, yes. It will be obvious to everyone.
Where then is God? God, where is God?
He is not there. And Lord knows to look down there, even if we were born up there.
Then where is God?
I'm not a theologian. I'm a mathematician.
First and foremost, you are a man, and I ask you, where is God in your universe?
Here.
As the heretic Giordano said.
Yes. Yes, if you'd like.
That's why he was burnt not 10 years ago.
He was burnt because he had no proof. Senora Sarti!
Galileo, I have always thought you a clever man. For 17 years, you taught the Ptolemaic system, which the scripture confirmed and the church supports. You did not believe in it, but you taught it.
I taught it because I had no proof of anything else.
And do you think proof makes any difference at all?
Yes. Since you asked, I believe in mankind and its special qualities. I believe in reason, for he has common sense.
Then let me tell you something. I do not believe in it. This 40 years on Earth taught me one thing. Reason counts for nothing at all. You show men the red tail of a comet, stir up their fears, and they will jump over cliffs in a bloody stampede. Tell them one fact with 7 clear statements, and they will simply laugh in your face.
How can you love science if that's what you believe? Reason is what keeps us alive.
Men do not have reason. They have low cunning. Please never think the two are the same.
I'm not speaking of that. Speaking of cunning, I know they call a donkey a horse when they went to sell, and a horse a donkey when they went to buy. That is man's cunning. But I put my trust into something quite else. The woman who gives her horse more hay before the journey, the sailor who puts up the provisions before the storm, the child who reaches for his cap because he fears it is going to rain. My faith is in them, for they embody reason in their everyday lives. No one can watch me and see how I drop a stone and then say it does not fall. Ultimately, no man is capable of that. The truth cannot be resisted, or not for long. It has power, and this power cannot be broken. Thinking is one of the many pleasures of being alive. You think they can't grasp the truth?
Do
The
you
greater
want
they thirst for it.
do you want something, Signor?
Yes, I want Andrea.
Andrea? Andrea's in bed and asleep.
Well, can't you wake him?
What do you want him for? To look through your tube again?
Yes, to look through the tube.
For that you want him woken in the middle of the night? Have you taken leave of your senses? My boy needs his sleep.
Good morning, Father.
Why are you up so early?
Senora Sarti and I are going to early mass. Little Rico is coming too. What was the night like, Father?
Clear.
Can I look through the telescope?
Why? It is not a toy.
No. As you say.
Besides, the whole thing is a terrible letdown. That's what they say. They sell it in the street for 3 scooty.
Now, have you seen anything new in the sky?
Nothing that would interest you. A few stars, that is all. But I have been thinking of approaching the Medicis and asking them to lend their name to our stars as an act of sponsorship. Make my stars famous, why not? And I've already decided to move us to Florence. And I've already written to the Grand Duke asking if I can be court mathematician.
The court!
Galileo.
My friend, it's true. It's true. I can hardly go on here. I'm in grave need of luxury. I need leisure to work. This stuff here, it's just a start. I have to have time. And if I go to Florence, I will have time to prove that beyond all contradictions, the planets move around the sun. I have to find this proof. Proof that will satisfy everyone from Signora Sarti up to the Pope. If I can make the court take me.
They have to take you with these new stars of yours.
Go to your mass. Ooh, you know, I hardly write letters to the great. But do you think I've caught the right tone?
I yearn for nothing so much as to be closer to you, the rising sun, which will brighten this epoch in the history of the world. The Grand Duke of Florence is 9.
He is. I see you found my letter of secrets. I've been wondering if it's obsequious enough. I know that if I was right in the findings of Aristotle, then it would be a letter of impeccable taste. But, of course, a man like me who thinks as fresh as I do will have to crawl on his belly piece to get anywhere at all.
Don't go to Florence.
Why not?
It's a monk's town. It's in the church's pocket.
Scholars at the court of Florence too, Sagredo.
Doormats, nothing more.
Even monks are human, Sagredo. They will succumb to the temptations of proof. Copernicus gave them only scribbling, but I will give them the truth with their own eyes. It is not enough for the truth to just exist. It must go into the attack. And then I shall take these monks and force them to look through my telescope. I shall grab them by their necks and drag them there.
Galileo, this is a fearsome road you're taking. It's a night of disaster when a man sees the truth. Of whom do we say he's going into it with his eyes open? Of the man who knows he's destroying himself. Do you really believe the Pope will listen to you when you say he's in error? Do you believe that his diary entry will be the same as yours? Heaven abolished, January the 10th? How can you want to leave the safety of the Republic with the truth in your pocket when out there are monks and princes plotting against you? And to fight them you carry what? Nothing! A telescope. If you teach us to be so skeptical in science, why on earth are you so credulous in life? You do not believe in Aristotle, but you believe in the Grand Duke of Florence? When I saw you standing there by the telescope, when you stood there and said, I believe in reason, these are reasonable men, then I smelt burning flesh. Galileo, I saw you on your own pyre. I love science, but I love my friend more. I beg you, do not go to Florence.
If they want me, then I shall go.
Scene 4, Florence, 1610. The old says, what I've always done, I'll always do. The new says, if you're useless, you must go.
Nothing but bowing and scraping since we arrived in the great city of Florence. Everyone in town has to see the tube, with me wiping the floor up after them. To what purpose, I can hardly imagine. If there was anything to be discovered, the Holy Fathers would know. I was once 4 years serving a priest. He had leather books right up to the ceiling and not a love story in sight. He made himself ill sitting and reading all day. If any of this meant anything, he would know. And today's great viewing, well, I think we can safely predict a disaster. I had wanted to soften them up first by giving them my roast lamb with garlic and rosemary first. But no, I have something else for them. My God, the Grand Duke is here already and Galileo is still at the university.
I want to see the telescope!
Our apologies. Signor Galilei is late. He will arrive.
It was Signora Galilei's own wish. It's at his invitation the Grand Duke is here.
I know, Signor.
His own astronomers will test the existence of these new Medici stars.
My astronomers say it's all rubbish. Where's the telescope?
Through here in his study.
Your Highness, I am only here because his tutor is ill.
Ill?
Yes, a cold, nothing more serious.
Please sit down. My son's in there.
Oh, good evening.
This place is getting like a chicken hut.
Oh, really? You get a lot of visitors?
Lots. They all clump around.
I see. What's that?
That's Ptolemaic universe. It's ridiculous.
It shows how the sun goes around.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Well, why do you say it's ridiculous?
Oh. Here. This is the proper one. The universe. The earth goes around the sun. Do you see?
You really think so?
Yes. You have to be stupid not to believe it. Or frightened. We all know you lots are frightened.
I think you better keep quiet.
Oh, just give it back. You don't even understand it.
Well, I will give it back to you, but you do actually have to remember I'm a Grand Duke.
Oh, to hell with it. Just give it here.
Ah! You broke it! Oh, you're twisting my arm!
I teach you
Gentlemen, I'm afraid we have a small problem. His Highness's tutor could not be here. He has a slight chill.
I trust nothing serious.
No, not at all. It is simply the weather.
I see.
Although these low temperatures are a blessing as well.
Yes, of course.
If these rumors are true, the plague is confined to a small corner of the city, and in this cold, the germs cannot breed.
Well, His Highness is here?
His Highness is waiting. Please, the whole court would love to hear what our famous university thinks about these amazing new stars.
Quick, let me up. Senor Galileo?
Your Highness?
Something appears to have been broken here.
Please, do begin.
Your Highness, it will be my privilege to demonstrate my new discoveries to the scholars at your university and in your presence as well. As your Highness is already doubtless aware, we astronomers have had grave problems with our calculations. We have used a system for 1,000 years which accords with philosophy, but which sadly does not accord with the facts. According to the Ptolemaic explanation, stars are said to move in extremely complex ways. For instance, Venus moves in an orbit of this sort. But we cannot accept the theory of such complicated movements when we still can't predict where the stars will, in reality, appear. See, we never quite know where the stars will, in principle, end up. Worse, some stars perform movements which the Ptolemaic system simply cannot explain. Among these, most notably, we must deal with the question of 4 smaller stars around Jupiter, which I myself have recently found. So, I suggest that you gentlemen start by stepping forward to the telescope and observing these new Medicean stars.
Here.
I fear things are not as simple as that, Senor Galileo. Before anything, we must allow ourselves the pleasure of a disputation. I propose the question, can such planets exist?
Yes, a formal disputation.
Well, I suggest that you just look for yourselves.
Here.
In a moment. I take it you are familiar with the ancient opinion that there can be no stars which revolve round centers other than the Earth, nor any which lack support in the sky.
I am.
Moreover, quite apart from such stars being possible, which my friend the mathematician appears to doubt, I must also ask, as a philosopher, whether such stars are necessary as well. Aristotelis Divini Universum.
No. Please. If we can continue in our own language. My colleague here does not understand Latin.
Really? Does it matter if he understands us or not?
I think it does.
I thought he was your lens grinder.
Mr. Fitterzoni's a lens grinder and a scholar.
Thank you, child. Well, if Mr. Fetterzoni insists.
No, I insist.
My argument will be considerably less elegant, but it's your house. There we are. The universe of the divine Aristotle, with the mystical music of its spheres and the sublime architecture of its crystal vaults, is a conception of such transparent symmetry and beauty that we do well to pause and tremble before tearing it apart.
Yes. Well, now having done that, shall we take a look?
I do have to say it has occurred to me. If your telescope shows us something which cannot be there, we are entitled to ask, what sort of telescope is this?
What sort? What sort of telescope? I'm sure I just don't know what you mean.
In the absence of reasons which you are able to advance for these stars' existence...
Reason? I tell you, just look for yourselves.
I might suggest, if it would not madden you further, that what is in the heavens and what is in your telescope may indeed be 2 different things.
That could not have been more tactfully put.
Are you saying that we painted the lens? Are you saying we painted the stars on the lens?
Are you accusing me of fraud?
Impossible. In the presence of His Highness.
Your instrument is certainly ingenious. No one for a moment has any doubts about that.
And we know you most certainly would not wish to bestow the great name of Medici upon stars which finally could not be found to exist.
Is there something wrong with my stars?
You're all stupid!
What a deplorable child.
Gentlemen, your highness, may I remind you the royal ball begins in 3/4 of an hour.
This matter need not delay us. Signor Galileo's argument is fatally flawed. His Jupiter satellites cannot move as he says they do because they would have to smash their way through the crystal spheres.
I've got bad news for you. There aren't any crystal spheres.
Oh, please. Any textbook will tell you that the crystal...
Then you need new textbooks.
Your Highness, I may put an end to this argument at once by reminding you my colleague and I base our arguments not on speculation or opinion, but on the divine Aristotle himself.
Well, I've grown used to this. I'm well used to it. Members of all faculties do the same thing. They turn their heads and act as if nothing were happening. I offer my observations, and they smile. But I put my telescope at their disposal, and they quote Aristotle. But gentlemen, I do have to say, Aristotle had no telescope.
He did not indeed.
If Aristotle, who is recognized not only by the entire learning of antiquity, but by Holy Rome itself, if Aristotle is to be dragged through the mud, then to me, at least, this discussion becomes superfluous. I have no use for it. Enough!
Truth is a child of time. It is not the prisoner of authority. Our ignorance of the world is infinite. Let us diminish it at least by 1 inch. Why try to be clever when you have the opportunity to be at least a little less stupid? I have had the great good fortune of finding an instrument which illuminates a corner of the universe. Not much, but little. For goodness sake, gentlemen, let us use it.
Gentlemen, Your Highness, what concerns me most is where this may lead.
It is not for scientists to ask where the truth may lead.
Signor Galileo, the truth may lead us to absolutely anything.
Your Highness, I tell you now, on nights such as these, all over Italy, men and women of all ages, all backgrounds, all sorts are lifting their telescopes and looking through. Tonight, now, this very evening, are looking through and looking into the heavens and finding stars which have never been there. To that, the man in the street concludes that there is more to life than he knows, and you owe him that confirmation. Gentlemen, it is not the stars which have awoken all of Italy. It is the news that dogma is at last giving way. Let us not defend dying doctrines.
You are teachers. You should be rushing to hasten their end.
I would be grateful if your man did not intrude on scholarly debate.
Your Highness, my work at your great arsenal has brought me in daily touch with draftsmen, builders, and artisans. They have taught me a whole new way of looking at things. They don't use the books. It's true. They rely on their own 5 senses with no fear of where their 5 senses may lead.
Well, yeah.
And in the same way, yes, like our sailors who 100 years ago decided to take leave off our shores. It seems that the only curiosity that is the greatness of Greece is down in the docks.
After what we have heard today, it does not surprise me to hear that Signor Galilei is admired in the docks.
Gentlemen, Your Highness, I'm afraid this fascinating discussion is a little prolonged. His Highness must rest before the royal ball.
But gentlemen, please, will you not look through it?
His Highness will consult with our greatest living philosopher. He will submit your ideas to Father Christopher Clavius at the Papal College in Rome.
Scene 5, Rome, 1616. Things take indeed a wondrous turn when learned men do stoop to learn. Clavius, we are pleased to say, upheld Galileo Galilei.
Whoa, hold on to me, please. Get a hold of me. Oh,
Quick, hold on to us! We're falling off!
I'm spinning. Woo-hoo-hoo, I'm spinning.
The Earth is spinning! We're speeding through space! The Earth is moving! The Earth is speeding! The Earth is falling down! What will people now not believe?
They won't believe in the devil. Oh no. The devil's silly, of course. But the earth is a marble rolling around in the gutter. Oh yes, that gives them no trouble at all.
What's happening?
I don't understand. I cannot understand it. Why Christopher Clavius, the church's greatest astronomer, why is he even entertaining this stuff?
He's still in the room?
Yeah, he's sitting there, peering through the devil's own tube.
What does it say in the Bible? Sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Ajalon. It's written down. How can the sun stand still if it does not move at all, as these heretics say? Are the scriptures lying?
No. There are things in astronomy, yes, which present us with difficulty. But does man have to understand everything? Can we just leave some things alone?
They tell us we live on a wandering planet. They pack us all on this cart and trundulate meaninglessly round an empty sky. There's no longer a place beyond the known universe called heaven. Heaven is now just a star like everywhere else. That we are mortal, very well we know this. But now they tell us heaven is mortal as well. I tell you, one of these days, these very same people will come and tell us, man, it's not man. You wait. They will say that he's an animal. Nothing but animals next.
Senor Galilei, I think you may have dropped something.
No, senor. It fell up to me.
Are they still in there? Can they not settle this any faster? Clavius ought to understand his astronomy. Now, I am told this Galileo, he removes mankind from the center of the universe and puts him somewhere along the edge. Now, this alone makes him an enemy of mankind, and he should be treated as such. Mankind is the crown of creation. How is it conceivable that God would take something so miraculous, the fruit of such extraordinary genius, and put him on some minor transient star? Would he send his son to such a place? Who would be so stupid as to put their faith in mathematics? Which of God's creatures would do such a thing?
The gentleman is in the room.
Oh. So it's you, is it? You know, my eyesight, it's not what it used to be, but you seem to me to resemble that man we burned not so long ago.
Your Eminence must not excite himself, the doctor!
You seek to downgrade the very earth that you live on. It gives you everything. You soil your own nest. How can you sit there? I will not be shamed by your existence. You cannot implicate me. I am not some accidental creature careering through space. I am walking with a firm foot. It is at rest. It is on the earth, and the earth is motionless. It is at the center of the universe. I am at the center. The Creator's eye is on me, and me alone, and round about me revolve, attached to 8 crystalline spheres, the fixed stars, and the sun whose express purpose of existence is to shine a light upon where we live and on me, so that God may see me. And in this way, everything relies upon me, mankind, the center of all of his work, the greatest of his efforts, made in his image, indestructible.
Your Eminence has overexcited himself.
He's right.
They come to a decision. What's happening?
Your Eminence must be taken home.
Senor Galilei, Before he left, Father Clavius said, "Now let the theologians try to put their rings back in the sky again. You have won."
Not me. Reason. Reason has won.
That's His Eminence the Cardinal Inquisitor.
Scene 6, Rome, 1616. When Galileo was in Rome, a cardinal asked him to his home. He wined and dined him as his guest, and only made one small request.
I shall dance with no one but you, Ludovico.
And I, you, my beautiful darling.
Fear not, daughter, if perchance you attract a wanton glance. The eyes that catch the trembling lace will guess the heartbeat's quickened pace. Love we women still may be careless with felicity.
Can you hear my heart beating?
Well, yes, it's beating very fast.
I want to look beautiful.
Well, it's essential, or people will start asking whether the earth really does revolve.
But it doesn't. Signor, Rome talks of no one but you. But after tonight, it'll be your daughter they speak of.
Anyone can look good in Roman spring. I myself probably look like an overweight Adonis. Now, I was told to wait for the cardinals here, and you two go enjoy yourselves.
Father, the hairdresser in Via del Triunfo. Let me go first. 4 ladies had to wait. He knew your name at once.
The first carnival since the plague. All the great families are here. There's the Orsinis, the Nucciolis, the Villanis, the Soldaniris, the Carnis, the Estes, the Lakis, and the Colombinis.
Your Eminences, Cardinal Bellarmine and Barberini.
The sun also ariseth, and the sun goeth down, and hasteneth to his place where he arose. So says Ecclesiastes. And what says Galileo?
Well, when I was this high, your eminence, I stood on a ship and said, "The shore is moving away!" And today, I know now that it is the ship that moves and the shore that stands still.
Clever, clever. You produce explanations almost as clever as the problems you pose. But remember, for once you are speaking to a fellow scientist. Unfortunately, I too have read some astronomy. It sticks to one like a burr.
Let us move with the times, Barberini. If we can put Galileo's theories to practical use, if they help with navigation, then we must not stand in their way. But we cannot allow our teachings which contradict the Bible.
The Bible, he who withholdeth corn, the people shall curse him. Proverbs.
A prudent man concealeth knowledge. Proverbs.
Where no oxen is, the crib is clean, but much in strength is the strength of the ox.
He that ruleth his spirit is better than he that taketh a city.
But a broken spirit dries the house. Doth not the truth cry aloud?
Can one go upon hot coals and his feet not be burned? Welcome to Rome, Galileo, my friend. Do you know the origins of the city? 2 little boys received milk and shelter from a she-wolf. From that moment on, all her children have had to pay for their milk. But in return, that she-wolf provides every kind of pleasure, from conversation with my brilliant friend Bellarmine here, to the friendship of at least 3 or 4 ladies of international repute. May I parade them before you? No, he would rather have a serious discussion. Very well. Are you sure, Signor, that you astronomers are not simply set on making astronomy simpler for yourselves? You like simple movements, perhaps because you yourselves have simple brains. But what if God had chosen to make his stars move like this?
Your Eminence, if God had chosen to make the universe like this, then he would have also constructed our brains to move like this, so that it would appear simpler. I believe in reason.
And I hold reason to be inadequate. Silence. Now he was too polite to say that he holds me to be inadequate.
Well, I believe in reason.
There's no need to take any of this down. This is a scientific conversation between friends.
Reason, my friend, doesn't get us very far. All around us we see nothing but brutality and fear. The lives of our peasants are crueler than we can conceive, so we lend their sufferings dignity and meaning by ascribing intentions to a higher being. Our suffering at least becomes part of a plan. Now this may not comfort us entirely, but now you come along and tell this higher being that he does not know how the stars move, a matter on which you claim to know more than him. Is that wise?
I am a true son of the church.
This man is incorrigible. He seeks to prove God's incompetence. Was God not competent to write the Bible?
Does it not seem likely to you that God knows more about his handiwork than the handiwork knows about itself?
But gentlemen, if man misinterprets the universe, maybe he misinterprets the Bible too.
But the interpretation of the Bible is in the end a matter for theologians of the Holy Church, is it not? He is silent. At last he is silent. Signor Galileo, tonight the Holy Office has decided that the teachings of Copernicus, according to which the sun is the center of the universe and does not move, while the earth is not the center and moves, are futile and foolish, and they are heresy. It is my duty to tell you to abandon this belief. Repeat that.
His Eminence Cardinal Bellarmine to the above-mentioned Galileo. The Holy Office has pronounced that the teachings of Copernicus, according to which the sun does not move and is in the center of the universe, while the earth does move and is not the center of the universe, are futile, they are foolish, and they are heresy, and it is my duty to tell you to abandon this belief.
But what does this mean? These are the facts. The Collegium Romanum confirmed my observations.
They did, and with a satisfaction which does you great honor.
And the planets around Jupiter, the phases of Venus.
The Holy Office did not consider these things.
Well, then, in other words, all future research.
Oh, there's no problem. The Church is saying, we can never know. But if we want, we're free to try and find out. You are free to expound your teachings, but as mathematical hypothesis, not as truth. Science, Signor Galileo, is the legitimate and well-loved daughter of the Church. And no one here seriously believes you wish to undermine the authority of the Church.
Authorities' own abuses are what undermines it.
Do they? Don't throw the child away with the water. It's in nobody's interest for you to do that. We will not do it. We need you more than you need us.
I'm burning to present you to the President of the Holy Office. He admires you so much.
You would have done well to adopt a disguise tonight, Signor Galileo. Perhaps the disguise of a humble and orthodox scholar. Disguise has its uses. Behind my mask, you may perhaps hear me say, if there were no God, we would have to invent him. Good, mask on again. If only you had one.
Did you get that last bit?
I did. Did you get the bit where he says he believes in reason?
Did the conversation take place?
Yes. Signor Galileo arrived with his daughter tonight. She was engaged to...
The transcript. Well, my daughter.
Your Eminence.
A wonderful evening. Permit me to congratulate you on your engagement. The groom comes from a noble family. Will you remain with us in Rome?
Not immediately, Your Eminence. There's so much to do before a wedding.
So you will return to Florence with your father. Good, I am pleased. He will need you. Mathematics is a cold companion, I think. He needs flesh and blood beside him. A great man can easily get lost in the vast world of the stars.
You are most kind, Your Eminence. For myself, I understand nothing of these things.
No. No one eats fish in a fisherman's house. Your father will be amused when he hears at last you learned some astronomy from the Cardinal Inquisitor. You learned some astronomy from me. I read here that our innovators, of whom your father is acknowledged leader, now believe that the importance of the earth has been greatly exaggerated. They believe that the universe is almost infinite. We've always believed that the universe is 20,000 times the Earth's size. Roomy enough, you would think, but no, not for our friends. No, they say the distances between us and the sun are as nothing compared to distances beyond. Who can say our scientists do not live on a grand scale? True, there are some gentlemen of the Holy Office who are rather disturbed by this new view of the universe. Suddenly, the universe as described in the scriptures has become little more than a bauble one might hang around the neck of certain young ladies. In this vast new universe, a priest or even a cardinal may easily get lost. The Almighty might overlook the Pope himself. Yes, it is amusing, but it is also consoling that you would be so close to your father, whom we all esteem so much. Do I know your confessor?
Father Christophorus of St. Ursula's?
Yes. I am glad you will be with your father. He will need you. Perhaps you cannot imagine it, but I must tell you, the time will come. He will need you. And you are so young and so very much flesh and blood. Greatness is not always easy for those whom God gives it. It can be hard. But no one is so great, however, that they cannot be contained in a prayer. But I am keeping you. I will make your fiancé jealous, and perhaps your father too, for telling you things about the stars, which he will think horribly out of date. Dance, go dance, dance the night away. But remember me also to Father Christophorus.
Scene 7, Florence. 800 Avenue in cheek. Of what he knew, he did not speak. The temptations grew too great, and Galileo challenged fate.
Go ahead. Speak. The clothes you are wearing give you the right.
I have studied mathematics, Signor Galilei.
Oh, well, that will come in handy.
For 3 nights now, I've not slept at all. I could not make sense of anything. I've seen the planets of Jupiter. I've seen them with my own eyes. But I've also read the church's decree. So today I decided to say Mass early and then come straight here to you.
What? To tell me that Jupiter has no planets?
No! To tell you that I now see reason in the church's actions. We are in grave danger, I'm sure. Unrestricted research is a danger to humanity. Oh yes, I am serious. I've decided to give astronomy up. I want to tell you my reason.
You hardly need to. I think we can guess what they are.
Galileo, I understand your bitterness. The church has exceptional powers of enforcement. I know.
Shall we just call them instruments of torture?
That's not why I'm going to give it up. Here, let me tell you. I grew up in the Campagna. My parents are peasants. Now, as I study the movements of Venus, somehow I can't help but think of my parents as well. Among the olive trees, sitting huddled around a fire with my sister, eating their olives and cheese. I see the blackened rafters of their cottage. I see the veins on the backs of their hands. Yes, they are poor, but in their poverty, there is a certain order. There's a sense of the rightness of things. Every day, they gather up the strength to sweat up the stony paths with their baskets. They find the strength to eat. Yes, even to bear children, from the feeling of ritual and continuity that comes from the very feel of the soil, from the trees and from their seasons, and from the small church which has always been there. And also, yes, from each Sunday's Bible. Each Sunday's reading, which is always different and yet always the same. They have always been told that God is watching them, that the world has been built so that each human being may act out their part. Now, what would they say, my parents, if I were to tell them that they were really on a small piece of rock in a big empty space that ceaselessly revolves around one empty star, which in itself is no special importance? What then is the value of their patience, their endurance, their valor? What is it for? What good now is the Bible, which explained and justified their suffering and hunger and given it shape? What if I go to them now? I take them aside, I sit them down, and I tell them, everything you have hitherto believed is in error. Do you really believe that is a kind thing to do? No, Galileo, I see them frightened. I see their eyes wavering. I see them lost and afraid. So, we're here alone? That's what they'll say. We're here. There's no role for us. We must look after ourselves, worn out as we are. Our suffering is without purpose. Hunger is nothing more than having no food. Work is simply the time you spend doing it. Work is nothing more than actions being performed. And at the end, there is nothing. It has no meaning at all. So, Galileo, do you see that in the church's decree I find a great compassion? I find a vast goodness of the soul.
Goodness of the soul. What you describe, the conditions you speak of, the suffering you see in their lives, do you think it's God-given? Do you think it's predestined? Do you really think that's how it has to be? Oh, yes, you're right. In one thing, you're right. I grant you that. The issue here is not the movement of the heavens. It is not the planets. No one cares about the transit of the stars. What matters here are the peasants of the Campagna. This is the struggle for the soul of the people themselves. The land is rich. And I go through Italy And yes, I see the order. Yes, indeed, I see the order that you so lovingly describe. But what is that order? The order of the empty waters?
No, not solely.
The people are thirsting. Their lips are parched, their throats are burning. They cry out for wine and they are told to suck on the cassock instead. Why is it important that the earth be at the center of the universe? There's only one reason why it should matter at all. So that St. Paul, in his turn, can be at the center of the world, which is at the center of the universe. That is the church's true and only purpose. They need to go on fighting their wars. Yes, even now, the friends of gentle Jesus have their armies in Spain and Germany fighting today. But who pays? Who starves? Who finances the fighting? Well, these virtuous peasants of yours. Well, I reject your virtue. Endurance, valor, forbearance, all these qualities that move you so much. Tell me, is virtue really the fruit of poverty? Can there not be virtue and happiness and prosperity too? See, these new pumps I shall make for the people will bring them miracles. Miracles worth more than the ridiculous servitude that they suffer from now. And you come to me today. In the interest of maintaining their suffering, you come to me and you say, I shall go on telling your parents lies.
Not what I said.
Oh, really, isn't it?
No, it's not. It's a matter of principle.
Principle? How?
People must be allowed peace. They must. We must not unhinge them. I mean, who are we? We come and we remove the comforts of the faith.
This morning, I tell you, first thing this morning, Cardinal Bellarmine's coachman passed me by, and he gave me a present. He gave me a clock by Cellini. You think I don't know the reason? You think I don't see why I have earned my reward? What is my virtue? I have not disturbed these peasants of yours. And yes, a bribe. They offered me wine wrung from the sweat of your parents' brow. If they were thereby to buy my silence, if I were to give these peasants this peace that you describe, I would not deceive myself. It would be from principle. An easy life, freedom from persecution.
Senor Galileo, I am a priest.
And you are a physicist too, yes? You see the faces of Venus. We all see it. It is plainly the truth. He who does not know the truth is an idiot. There is no virtue in ignorance. None. But he who knows the truth and chooses to deny it, I tell you, he is something quite else. He is a criminal too. And look over there. Don't you see it? The statue of Priapus, the god of the gardens, the god of birds and of thieves. Look at him. Rustic, obscene, 2,000 years old. All right, I must admit I am a true son of the church, but when I look at that little figure, that figure of mischief, at least I think he told fewer lies. And I was reading Horace, my favorite, so balanced, I think. And he has the 8 satires to which a Priapus statue actually speaks. Oh, a fig tree log. Oh, useless piece of wood was I, when the carpenter, uncertain of whether to carve a Priapus or a stool, decided on the god. You see, it has as much to do with beauty. Imagine if someone had gone up to Horace and said, I'm sorry, but that word must be changed. It cannot be stool. It must be, I don't know, anything. It must be table instead. You see, for me, it's no different. My sense of beauty would be wounded if Venus appeared without its phases. It's the same thing.
My heart, I see. Galileo, I hear it. But can't the truth prosper without us? Can't the truth just find its own way?
You say these things, but you already know the truth. The truth will conquer only if we do. Reason's victory depends purely on the humans willing to employ it. It falls to us, and we have no choice. And you speak of your parents and of their families. You speak of the peasants who make their lives on the hills, and yet in the very same concern that you exhibit, you treat them as if they were nothing. Inert, unthinking, as if they were mindless moths on their huts. They must want to change. These will bring them new inventions, but these new inventions will bring them no benefit at all. The change must be in them. Dear God, help us all. I see their divine patience, but where is their anger?
They are tired.
Are you a physicist, my boy? Here, you will know the reason why the ocean moves, why it ebbs, why it flows. Well, maybe you mustn't read it. Oh, he's already started. So you are a physicist then. An apple from the tree of knowledge. He's wolfing it down. He knows he will be damned forever, but he is eating his last meal. I've always thought that I'd be willing to live in a dungeon 200 feet down without light in absolute darkness, and it will mean that I will know what light truly is, and then I have to tell someone like a lover, like a drunkard, like a traitor. I know it would cause sin, and I know it would also cause disaster, but how long can I shout into the void?
This part, this bit right here, I don't understand it.
Here, let me help you.
Eight. Galileo's house in Florence, 1624. 8 long years with tongue in cheek. Of what he knew he did not speak. The temptations grew too great, and Galileo challenged fate.
At last, this is for the long dining table. Ludovico loves entertaining. Everything for the wedding has to be perfect. His mother notices every loose thread. She doesn't approve of Father's books. Neither does my confessor, Father Christophorus.
Your father hasn't written a book for years.
No, I think he knows he was wrong. Once in Rome, a very senior cardinal explained astronomy to me. The distances are too great.
Thursday afternoon, floating buddies, ice again, a bucket of water, iron needles, scales, Aristotle.
We've waited so long for this, Virginia. You've waited 8 years to marry Ludovico, but you're still young and somebody needs to talk to you. You have no mother and your father is floating bits of ice on water. Besides, he's not a suitable person with whom to discuss these things. He just sees it as another chance to use foul language in front of the young. And anyway, that's not what I'm worried about. I'm concerned about the future and how it will turn out. I'm not educated and I know nothing, but I do know not to go into things blind. You need a proper astronomer to do you a good horoscope so you'll know where you are. What are you laughing at?
I've already been.
And so?
For the first 3 months, I need to be especially careful because the sun will be in Capricorn. But then I'll get a favorable ascendant and the clouds will part. That's when I can go on a long journey because I'm a Capricorn.
And Ludovico?
He's a Leo. His nature is sensual.
The rector of the university called earlier. He asked me not to disturb you. He left this book.
Well, what does it say?
I don't know. Demaculis insole.
Sunspots. Again?
He said 10 minutes of the great man's time is 10 minutes stolen from Italy.
Listen to the dedication. To the greatest living authority on physics, Galileo Galilei. I've read a sunspot treatise by Fabricius of Holland. He believes there are swarms of stars passing in between Earth and the sun.
I don't know about that, Andrea. What do you think, Signor Galileo?
In Paris and Prague, they are convinced there are vapors from the sun. Oh, but there is only doubts that.
Don't drag me into it. I said, that is all. I'm a lens grinder. I grind lenses. When you look through those lenses, what you see, they're not called spots. Didn't you know? They're called maculae. How could I have an opinion about anything? The books are all in Latin, and I know nothing at all.
Well, there's happiness in doubt. I wonder why.
For 2 weeks now, whenever the sun shines, I've climbed into the roof under the attic. A thin ray of light is seen through the crack in the shingles. On a piece of paper, you can get an inverted image of the sun. I've seen a spot as big as a fly and smudged like a cloud. Why aren't we looking into these spots?
Because we are working on floating bodies.
Our cupboards are stuffed with letters from all over Europe asking to know what you think. Your reputation now is so great you cannot stay silent.
Rome allows my reputation to grow because I am silent.
You cannot afford to be silent anymore.
Nor could I afford to be barbecued like a ham.
You think sunspots have to do with that other business? All right, let's stick to the ice. It can't hurt you.
Correct. Our thesis, Andrea?
On a question of floating, it is our belief that it is not the shape of the body which matters, but whether it is heavier or lighter than water.
And what does Aristotle say?
Viscous lattice plaque.
No, translate.
Sorry. A broad disc body of ice floats, whereas an iron needle will sink.
And what are his views on why ice doesn't sink?
Well, because of its shape, it's broad and it's flat, and therefore it cannot divide in the water.
Well, here, I place my hand on this ice. And then I release the pressure. And what happens?
It rises up to the surface again?
Correct. So, the water does divide when it arises, Fulganzio.
But that doesn't make any sense. Ice is heavier than water. It's condensed.
But what if it were thinned?
It has to be lighter than water. Otherwise, it wouldn't float.
Haha.
Just like an iron needle wouldn't float, everything that is heavier than water sinks, and everything that is lighter floats.
Now, Andrea, you must learn to think carefully. Give me a piece of paper. You're good. And, a needle. Now, is iron heavier than water?
Yes.
Okay, so what's happening?
Oh, the needle's floating. There's sacred Aristotle. They never put him to the test.
One of the principal reasons for failure in science is imagining we have had a success. Our aim is not to open the door to wisdom, but to set a limit on our stupidity. Now, write up your notes.
What's wrong?
When they laugh, it frightens me. I ask myself, what are they laughing at?
Father says theologians have their bell ringing and the physicists have their laughter.
I'm glad he no longer uses his telescope.
Now all he does is put ice in water. There's no harm in that.
I'm not sure.
Why didn't you write? I had no idea you were coming.
I was in the region visiting our vineyards. I couldn't resist coming by.
Who is this?
Ludovico.
Can't you see him?
Oh, yes, Ludovico. How are the horses?
Splendid. Thank you, senor.
Senor Sarti, please, a celebration. Bring us our Sicilian wine, our old stuff, the best.
You're looking pale. Life in the country will suit you. My mother is expecting you in September.
Wait, let me show you my wedding dress.
I hear you have 1,000 students at your lectures. What are you working on now?
Oh, the usual, you know. Have you come through Rome?
Yes. Before I forget, my mother wanted to say she admired the tact you have shown. I mean, towards the Dutch and their recent sunspot orgies.
Well, then tell her, please. That's very kind.
Yes, Father Clavius has said that the sunspot research will mean that all that Earth around the sun nonsense will start up again. Rome is already aflame with gossip.
It won't.
And what gossip?
You know, of course, that the Holy Father is dying.
What?
And who do they think will succeed?
The favorite is Father Barberini.
Barberini.
Signor Galileo knows Barberini.
Barberini is a mathematician.
A scientist on the papal throne.
Well, maybe things are really moving. Even the church needs men like Barberini, men who know a little maths. Things are moving at last. Soon we will see the day, Federzoni, where we won't have to act like criminals when we assert that 2 and 2 are 4. I love this wine, Ludovico. What do you think of it?
It's good.
I know the vineyard it comes from. The hillside is stony and steep. Grapes are almost blue. I love this wine.
Yes, indeed.
It's almost sweet, but not quite. Andrea, would you mind clearing all this junk away? The ice and buckets. I do so enjoy the pleasures of the flesh. I have no patience for those who call them weaknesses. Pleasures are achieved, much like anything else.
What do you have in mind?
Start that Earth around the sun nonsense again.
Perhaps we'll discover the sun goes round too. How would that suit you, Marceli?
Why the excitement?
You're not going to start that devil's work up again.
I know why your mother sent you here. Because Marsilia ascends to the throne. Soon knowledge will be a passion and research a delight. Clavis was right. Those sunspots do interest me. Do you like my wine, Ludovico?
I've already said so.
But do you really like it?
Yes, I like your wine.
So, do not ask me when you have already had my wine and my daughter for my work as well. What does astronomy have to do with Virginia? The phases of Venus have nothing to do with the shape of her backside.
Don't be so crude. I'm going to get Virginia.
In families like mine, we do not marry solely for pleasure.
Did your family tell you not to marry Virginia? Have I been on probation for the last 8 years?
The woman who marries me will sit beside me. She will take her place in our pew in the church.
And? What, you think if she's not known to be godly, the peasants won't pay their rents?
Since you said yes!
Andrea? Can you fetch my brass reflectors for me? We'll project them on the screen to protect our eyes. Your technique, Andrea.
In Rome, you signed an undertaking, remember?
Oh, then. Well, then, we had a reactionary pope.
He isn't dead yet?
As good as. And Andrea, fetch the grids for the screen. We will proceed methodically, and then we'll be able to answer all those letters that we have.
As good as. As good as, you're saying? Scientific accuracy, that's your whole life. But when something's going on that happens to appeal to you, then suddenly accuracy counts for nothing at all? Signor Galileo, now I'll tell you something. I have seen my son fall into sin with all these experiments and theories and observations, and I could do nothing. You have set yourself up against the authorities. They warned you once. The greatest men of the church have indulged you like a sick child. And it worked for a time. But 2 months ago, right after the Annunciation, I caught you back at it, up in the attic. I didn't say anything, but I did run and light a candle to St. Joseph because the whole thing is like a disease. When I'm alone with you, you seem calmer. You know you must control yourself. You know the dangers, you say, but then 2 days' work and you're back in its grip. If I lose my chance of eternal salvation because I have spent my life with a heretic, all right, that's my choice. But you have no right to trample on the happiness of your own daughter.
Say goodbye to Virginia. I'm going to put my luggage in the coach.
She'll never get over it. You tell her. I won't.
Signor Galilei, my mother and I spend 3/4 of our year on our estates on the Campagna. It will come no doubt as bad news to you, but our peasants are now remotely concerned for the satellites of Jupiter. Why? Because they are working too hard. But what would disturb them if they heard that frivolous attacks on the church go unpunished? You must never forget, these people are not clever. They live like animals, and they are just as stupid. When they hear that an apple tree has been producing pears, they stop work and run to gossip about it.
Do they?
Animals! When they come to the house with all their trivial complainings, my mother is forced to have a dog whipped in front of their eyes. It's the only way to impress on them exactly what civilization and order may be. You, senor, like any intellectual, you eat your cheese or your olives without thinking. You ride as you wish, and from your coach you look over the fields, but you have no sense of the reality, of the need for discipline. You know nothing of all our hard work!
Young man, I never eat my olives without thinking. You're wasting my time. Andrea, Fuganzio, have you got the screens?
Yes, are you ready?
And it's not just dogs you whip to keep in order, huh, Marsili?
You have a fine mind. It's a shame.
You threatening him? Oh, yes, he understands the dangers. I will stir his peasants into thinking new thoughts, and his servants, and his staff.
Oh, none of them read Latin.
No, but I may write in the language of the people. My new ideas need people who work with their hands, because who else cares? Who else is interested? People see the bread on the table, but they do not care how it was baked. They rather thank God than the baker, but the people who make the bread, those are my people. For they know real experiences, for they know the true nature of things. Yes, even the girl who spends all of her days at the olive press, she will have a laugh at the news. The sun is not a golden badge. It is a lever. The earth moves because the sun sets it moving.
You will always be a slave to your obsessions. Say goodbye to Virginia. It's better I don't see her.
Oh, her dowry will always be waiting for you.
Good. day.
Best regards to the Mercilis,
And the Cencis.
the Villanis,
And the Servilis.
Alekis,
And the Pierleonis.
the great families of Italy, all fall and kiss the feet of the Pope, so that the Pope, this anointed, may direct his foot straight into Italy's groin.
Better, he's enlightened.
So, we will begin the great experiments of the spots on the sun. We will begin fully knowing the dangers and not putting too much trust in the Pope.
But also supremely confident of overturning all other ideas and of establishing the movement of the sun.
Confidence, yes, but not supremely. See, the purpose of this exercise is not to prove that I have been right, but to point out whether I have been right. I say abandon all hope. Anyone who embarks on an experiment, these things may be spots on the sun or they may just be fried fish. The best place to start scientifically is by assuming that they may actually be this fried fish. And we will proceed and we will question everything perpetually, slowly. And what we find today, tomorrow we will throw out. And when we find something which especially pleases us, we will regard it with the utmost distrust. And when we are beaten, when we are defeated, and we're looking our wounds in despair and the utmost dejection, only then shall we ask ourselves, maybe we were right all along. Maybe the earth really does move around the sun. And once we have approached our conclusion, we will show no mercy to those who have not yet looked through and those feel entitled to speak. Take the cloth off the telescope and point it at the sun.
I knew you were up to something when you pretended not to notice Ludovico. Yes.
Father, you sent him away?
Scene 9, an Italian city, 1632. Scene 10, Florence, 1633.
I wonder if my daughter will get here. Been waiting for a long time. Everything's nicer in Florence.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, it's taking
There you
forever.
are. Well, yes.
I think that man followed us.
I do not know him.
I've seen him several times the last few days. He makes me jumpy.
Nonsense. We're in Florence, not some Corsican hillside.
Oh, here comes the rector of the university.
Oh no, he does frighten me. He'll want to gossip for hours. What has gotten into him? My eyes are bad again. Did he greet us at all?
Hardly. What's in your book? Do you think they'll judge it heretical?
You've been hanging around the churches too much. Getting up early and going to mass is ruining your looks.
This is Senor Vani, the iron founder you designed our furnace for. Don't forget to thank him for the quails.
Did you like the quails I sent you, Signore Galileo?
Oh, the quails were delicious. I thank you again.
They are all talking about you up there. They hold you responsible for these pamphlets attacking the Bible, which are on every street corner these days.
I know nothing of these pamphlets. The Bible and Homer are what I read.
Mhm. There's no need to be so cautious with me, Signore. I am on your side.
My side? And what side is that?
I speak for all industrialists, all manufacturers, the whole new rising class of people desperate to see this country move on. I'm afraid to us the stars mean less than nothing, but you are the man fighting for the right to teach what is new.
Am I?
Of course, Europe is changing. In Amsterdam and London, there are business schools, money markets. There are papers where they print the news on them, which appear every day. Yet in Italy, we are still not given the freedom to make money. We cannot employ your inventions. We are told that iron foundries are a bad thing because too many people in one place might encourage immorality. This is the scale of our problem, Signore. I sink or swim with people like you.
Indeed.
Remember, if anybody moves against you, the world of commerce will stand alongside you. The cities of northern Italy are yours.
Senor, it is of no concern of mine, but no one means to move against me.
Don't they?
No.
In my view, you'd be better off in Venice. Far fewer priests. From there, you could fight. I have the traveling coach and horses outside.
I do not see myself in exile. I enjoy my comforts too much.
Perhaps you don't understand what I'm saying. I've been upstairs. It's a matter of urgency. They would prefer you not to be in Florence.
Nonsense! The Grand Duke is my pupil, and the Pope, he would never countenance any kind of trap.
I'm not sure your gift is for distinguishing your friends from your enemies.
I distinguish power from impotence.
Very well. I wish you luck.
Every fool with a grievance wants me as their spokesperson, especially in places where it will do me no good. I have written a book about the mechanics of the universe, and what people make of it is not my concern.
If only they knew how you condemned what happened everywhere last carnival.
Yes?
Did the Grand Duke actually send for you?
No, I had myself announced, but he wanted the book and he paid for it. Now, go ask that guard why we've been waiting for so long.
Senor Mencho, has the Grand Duke been informed that my father is waiting to speak to him?
How would I know?
That is no answer.
Isn't it?
It is actually part of your job to be polite. He says the Grand Duke is busy.
I heard you say something about polite. What was that?
For his reply, that was all. Can't you just leave your book here and, we're just wasting our time.
Well, I'm not sure what my time is worth nowadays.
The Cardinal Inquisitor. Why is the Cardinal Inquisitor in Florence, Father?
I'm not sure, but he acknowledged me. I knew what I was doing when I moved us to Florence and stayed silent for so long. They built me up so high they could not disown me.
His Highness the Grand Duke.
Your Highness, I'd like to present you my dialogues on two world systems.
Yes! How are your eyes?
Not good. Your Highness, if you would permit me, Here I have the book.
Ah, yes, your eyes, they worry me profoundly. Could it be you've been spending too much time looking through your tube?
Father, I'm frightened.
Well, don't let it show. From here, we will not go home. We will go to Volpe, the glass cutter. In the tavern next door to him, there is always a wagon with empty wine caskets waiting to take me away.
You knew?
Don't look round.
Signor Galileo, it is my duty to inform you that the Florentine court feels itself unable any longer to refuse the request of the Holy Inquisition to examine you in Rome. The coach of the Holy Inquisition is waiting, Signor Galileo.
Scene 11, Rome, 1633. The depths are hot, the heights are chill, the streets are loud, the court is still.
No, no, no.
Sir, I see. We have here an assembly of doctors of all faculties, representatives of every part of the church, who have come with their childlike belief in God's word. From you, your holiness, they will receive not confirmation, not what they have come for. Are you truly proposing to tell them the Holy Scriptures may no longer be regarded as true?
I will not have his mathematical tables destroyed. No!
Do you really think this is about mathematics? No, of course that's what they'd like us to think. Is there any real question? It's about the spirit of doubt and of dissent. In these people's minds, there's a terrible restlessness, a restlessness which they project onto the real world. Oh, they doubt everything. They say, oh, you are my master, but I doubt if you should be. Oh, this is your house and your wife, but I doubt if it were not better they were mine. They doubt you, they impugn the church. They look at all the fine art on the walls, and they say, oh, all of the treasures in Europe, but the barbarians didn't plunder, the Barberini have! And while our armies are in Northern Europe, while the church is fractured by the Protestant animals, while we are lysing funds, you placate his mathematics. This Galileo, this new obsession with astronomy, that has no regard on these people's lives. It doesn't matter. He writes about the miracles of machines, the equality of man that may be achieved by science, but does he ever write about the miracles of God? No! And when Signore Galilei writes these books on mathematics and on astrology, what language does he write them in? Does he write them in Latin? No. He writes them in the language of fishwives and merchants!
Yes. Certainly that is very bad taste. I shall mention it to him.
He incites the one lot and bribes the other. The ports of northern Italy clamor for his star charts. We must give way. Commercial interests are at risk.
But the star charts are based on his heretical teachings. Without his teachings, they do not make sense. We can hardly allow the star charts and disallow the teachings.
We can do nothing else.
Oh, these shuffling feet! Forgive me, they make me nervous. I hear them all the time.
Yes, perhaps they can speak to you more than I can. Do you really intend to let these men leave here with doubt in their hearts?
This man is not an idiot. He is not a crank. He is the great physicist of the age, the glory of Italy. He has friends. There's Versailles, there's the court at Vienna. They'll call the Holy Church a cesspool of decaying prejudice. I have to adjure you, leave him alone.
In practice, one would not have to go very far with him. He's a man of the flesh. He would give in at once.
Yes, he certainly understands pleasure better than any man I have met. He thinks from pleasure. He cannot resist an old wine or a new idea. But I will not allow anything which has us denying reality. I'm not having battles, the church against reason. No one would profit from that. I let him write his book on the condition that it ended with him giving the last word to faith. He did that. He met that condition.
But in what way? In his book, he writes about a stupid man who represents Aristotle, who argues with a clever man who represents Galileo. Who do you think has the last word?
Who?
Not the stupid man.
All right.
No, the clever one.
All right. Yes, that was impertinent. This shuffling in corridors cannot be borne. Is the whole world coming here?
Not the whole world, just all that's good in it.
The very most you may do is to show him the instruments.
That will suffice, Your Holiness. Signora Galilei is an expert on instruments.
Scene 12, Rome, 1633.
The Pope wouldn't see him. No more discussions about science.
That was his last hope. It's true what Barberini said those years ago in Rome. When he was still a cardinal, he said, "We need you." And now they have him.
They will destroy him. The discourse will never be finished.
Yeah, you think so?
Yes, because he will never recant.
Stupid thoughts come to you when you're lying awake each night. Last night I thought he should have never left Venice.
He could not write his book there.
And in Florence, he couldn't publish it.
And also, that stone, the little touchstone he always carries in his pocket, do you think they'll let him keep it?
Where he's going, no one has pockets at all.
They won't dare. They won't! And even if they do, he will never recant. He who does not know the truth is an idiot, but he who knows it and chooses to deny it is a criminal. That's what he said.
I don't think he will either. If he does, I don't want to live. But they have force.
Force can't do everything.
Perhaps not.
He's been in prison for the past 23 days. Yesterday, the great cross-examination, and today they decide. That time I came here to see him, just 2 days after the church's decree, we sat over there, and he pointed. Look, he pointed to that statue of Priapus out by the sundial in the garden. He compared it to a poem by Horace in which nothing can be changed. A fig tree log. A useless piece of wood was I when a carpenter, uncertain whether to carve a Priapus or a stool, decided upon the god. He said you cannot separate beauty from the truth.
Did you tell him how he stood in the Collegium Romanum when they were examining his telescope? Tell him. He behaved as if there were nothing unusual. His hands as always on his back. He stuck out his stomach and said, "I only ask for reason, gentlemen."
Signor Galilei will be here soon. He may need a bed.
Has he been freed?
Signor Galilei is expected to recant at 5 o'clock before a session of the Inquisition. The great bell of St. Mark's will be rung. The recantation will be read out in public.
I don't believe it.
Because of the size of the crowd, Signor Galilei will be brought through the garden.
The moon is an earth. It has no light on its own. Neither does Venus have its own light. Like the earth, it revolves around the sun. And 4 moons revolve around the planet Jupiter, which is in the region of the fixed stars and is not attached to any crystal spheres. And sun is the center of the universe. It is motionless in space, and earth is not the center. And it is not motionless. And he is the one who showed it to us.
And there is no force on earth that can make man unsee what he has seen.
5 o'clock.
I can't wait any longer. They're killing the truth.
Nothing. 3 minutes past 5.
He's resisting.
He's not recanting.
No. Oh, brothers. Brothers.
Stop! Force has not prevailed. Force cannot do everything. Stupidity does not triumph everywhere. Man is not afraid of death.
No, and in this moment, this very moment, the age of science has truly begun. Oh, just think, if he had recanted.
I was so scared. I had so little faith.
But I knew.
It would have been as if night had fallen just as the sun rose.
As if the mountain had said, I am the sea.
Lord, I thank you!
But today everything has changed. The torture man lifts up his head and says, now I can live. So much as one when just one man stands up and says no.
The bell of St. Mark's. He's not damned.
I, Galileo Galilei, teacher of mathematics and physics at the University of Florence, renounce what I have taught, that the sun is center of the universe and motionless in its place, and that the earth is not the center and is not motionless. I recant, forswear, and execrate with all my heart and faith all these falsehoods and heresies, as well as every other falsehood or opinion which is contrary to the opinion of the Holy Church.
He never paid you properly for your work. You couldn't even afford a pair of trousers, let alone publish your own work, but it was all okay because we were working for science.
Happy the land that has no heroes. Oh, get him out of here. I can't look at him.
Calm down.
You piss artist. You snail! Have you saved your precious skin? I feel sick.
Get him some water.
I'm better now. I can walk if you give me your hand.
No. Unhappy the land that needs heroes.
Scene 13, the countryside near Florence, 1637. June 22nd, 1637. A momentous day for you and me, of all the days that was the one. An age of reason could have begun.
I've been asked to deliver these.
Who are they from? I haven't ordered geese.
I was told they're from someone passing through.
Someone passing through left us a present.
Well, what is it?
Can't you see?
No. Oh. Geese. Was there a name on them?
No.
Oh, it's heavy. I could manage for some right now.
You can't honestly be hungry. You just had your supper. Are your eyes bad again? You should have seen they were geese.
You were in the shadows.
I'm not in the shadows. Shall we give your eyes a little rest? Let's leave the ball, shall we? And we'll get on with our weekly letters to the Archbishop.
I'm not up for it. Can you please just read me some Horace?
Monsignor Carpula, to whom we owe everything. More fresh vegetables again the other day is forever telling me how much it means to the Archbishop that you answer his questions and sayings from the Bible every week.
Well, where was I?
Paragraph 4 concerning the attitudes of the Holy Church to the riots in the Grand Arsenal of Venice. I agree with Cardinal Spoletti about the rebellious rope makers.
Yes. I agree entirely with Cardinal Spoletti. In the name of Christian love and brotherhood, it is better to give the demonstrators soup than to pay them more for the work making ropes for the church. For surely it is wiser to feed their faith than to feed their greed. The Apostle Paul says, charity never fails. How does that sound?
Very moving, Father.
You don't fear there's any danger of irony?
No, the Archbishop will be thrilled. He is so practical.
Well, I rely on judgment. Next.
A beautiful saying. If I am weak, I am strong.
No comment.
Why not?
Next.
And to know the love of Christ, which passeth knowledge, Ephesians 3:19.
I would particularly like to thank your eminence for the wonderful text from the epistles of the Ephesians. Stimulated by it, I remember saying elsewhere, he to whom the eternal work speaketh is relieved of much questioning. May I add a thing in there about myself? I am still being reproached for having written a book about heavenly bodies in the language of the marketplace. In doing so, it was never my intention to suggest that books on more important subjects, such as theology, be written in the language of pastry cooks. I heartily reject my cheap lucidity in sacred matters. The Latin of the pulpits protects the eternal truth from the church from the curiosity of the ignorant, and yet at the same time evokes confidence when spoken by the sons of lower classmen in their familiar local dialects. No, cross that out.
The whole lot?
Everything after pastry cooks.
I'm leaving Italy to work in Holland. I was asked to bring people news of him and look him up.
I don't know if he'll see you. It's been a long time.
Ask him.
Is that Andrea?
Yes. Shall I send him away?
No, bring him in. And leave us alone, Virginia.
I hear what he has to say.
How are you?
Come closer. What have you been up to these days? They say you're working on hydraulics.
Fabricius of Amsterdam wanted me to ask after your health.
Oh, my health is good. They take care of me here.
I shall be happy to report you are well.
Fabricus will be pleased to hear it, and also tell him that I enjoy my comfort here as well. The depths of my repentance means that my superiors still allow me to do at least a little scientific work, of course within certain boundaries and under the supervision of the church.
Oh yes, we all know church was pleased with you. Your recantation had its effect. It has ensured that in Italy, no new ideas have been published since you recanted.
I fear that other countries will reject the protection of the church. I fear that new teachings will be disseminated there.
No, abroad as well. There's a reaction everywhere, thanks to your recantation.
Really? Even in Descartes, no news from Paris?
Oh yes, when he heard that you had recanted, he stuffed his treatise on the nature of light in the drawer.
I am anxious still that I may have led certain scientific colleagues into sin. Have they been redeemed by my recantation?
Keep on working, I have to go to Holland.
I see.
Pederzoni is grinding lenses again in some shop in Milan.
Of course. There's no Latin there. Poor man.
Little monk has given up research and returned to the bosom of the church.
Yes. My superiors are working on my own spiritual recovery. They're saying I'm making far better progress than first thought.
Indeed.
The Lord be praised.
Virginia, will you go and see to the geese?
I have to travel all night to get to the frontier in the morning. May I leave now?
Then why did you come here, Sarti? Did you come here to upset me? Was that the point? I've learned to think cautiously, but even now, sometimes I fall back.
I had no wish to excite you.
Frederick called it an itch. He himself was never quite rid of it. I've been writing again.
Writing.
I finished the Discorsi.
Mechanics and the Law of Falling Bodies. You have finished it.
They give me paper and quill here. They're not idiots. They know I cannot be cured of my sins overnight, so they lock it away as I write it.
I don't believe you.
What did you say?
It's like riding on water. It makes a mockery of what you do. How can you bear to?
Oh, I'm a slave to old habits.
You give discourse to the monks when in Paris and Prague and Amsterdam people are desperate to have it.
Well, in Amsterdam, that's easily said.
2 branches of science as good as destroyed.
You know, Federzoni and the others would be pleased to hear that I have risked my remaining comforts here in making a copy. Yes, behind my own back, so to speak, at night by moonlight, every night for the last 6 months.
You have a copy?
My vanity has not allowed me to destroy it.
Where is it?
It's over there.
Horsey.
Now, if you were to risk taking it back to Holland, that of course would be on your own affair. You would say that you got it from a person who had access to the original in the Holy Office or something like that.
My project is to establish an entirely new science in an old subject, motion. By experiment, I have managed to discover some of its properties, which it is worthwhile to know.
Stuff it under your coat.
We all thought you were a traitor. I was the bitterest critic you had.
And you were right. I taught you science and then I denied the truth.
No, this changes everything. Everything.
Does it?
Yes, like everyone we said. He will die, but he will never recant. You said, I have recanted, but I shall live. We say, but your hands are tainted. You say, better tainted than empty.
Better tainted than empty. Well, that sounds realistic. It sounds like me. New science, new ethics.
I, of all people, ought to have known. I was 11 years old when you passed another man's telescope as your own. And yet, what use you then put it to? All your friends shook their heads as you kowtowed to a small child in Florence. But my God, science then really took off. We always laughed at the idea of heroes. Suffering bores me. Suffering comes from lack of strategy and allowing for obstacles. And the shortest line between 2 points may be the longest way around.
I remember.
When you had recanted, I should have realized you had a reason. You wanted to get on with a real work of science.
Which is?
The study of the properties of motion, the mother of the machines, which will make the earth a much better place.
Uh-huh.
You wrote a book which only you could write. If you had been burned as a martyr, they would have won.
But they did win, and there is not a scientific book which only one man can write.
So why did you recant then?
I recanted because I fear physical pain.
No.
They showed me their instruments.
So you had no strategy?
None.
Science only knows one commandment: contribute to science.
Yes, and I have done that. Welcome to the gutter. Brother in science, cousin in treachery. You eat fish, I got fish, but it is not the fish that it's thinking. It's me. I sell out and you're ready to buy. And oh, the book. Just one look at the book and the sacred objects, and suddenly your mouth is watering and all the curses fall away. Oh, the great Babylonian. Oh, the murderous cow. Oh, the scarlet woman who opens her thighs and everything changes. Blessed be our whitewashed, death-fearing community.
Fearing death is human. Science has nothing to do with human weakness.
You think not? My dear Sarge, I must tell you about the science to which you have given your life. In my free time, of which I have a great deal, I have fallen into thinking of how the world of science, which I am no longer a part of, will one day judge me. The pursuit of science seems to me to demand a particular knowledge. Science is knowledge won through doubt. And if we give the knowledge of everything to everyone, then we seek to make skeptics of the world. A new art of doubt is enhancing the public. The plight of the multitude is as old as the rocks and believed to be as basic as the rocks, but they are learning to doubt. They snatch a telescope out of our hands and turn them on their tormentors, but we have not helped. See, the movement of the stars is clearer, but to the mass of the people, the movement of their rulers is still incalculable. The fight over the measurability of the heavens has been won through doubt, but the fight for the Roman housewife for milk has been lost over and again through faith. Word has been passed around that this is of no concern to scientists. Threats and bribes fill the air. And if we were to deny ourselves to the outside, then can we really call ourselves scientists? I mean, what are we working for? I take it that the purpose of science is to be relieved of the hardships of life. If scientists, intimidated by power, are happy to amass knowledge for its own sake, then science is corrupted. Your new machines will only mean new hardships. Yes, all the discoveries you will make will be discoveries, but your progress will be progress away from mankind. The gulf between you and the people is so great that you will cry out for joy over some new achievement. But you will be answered in a cry of universal horror. I had a moment here. I had a chance. In my lifetime, astronomy reached the streets. And in some extraordinary circumstance, the courage of one man could have changed the world if I had resisted. If I had said no, then scientists may have had a Hippocratic oath of their own. They might have promised their gifts to the world, but instead, I have fathered a race of inventive followers who can be hired for anything. So you see, Sarti, I was never in danger. I know this now. For all those years, I was as strong as the authorities. But I chose to give my knowledge to those in power to use or misuse as they please. I betrayed my profession. A man who has done what I have cannot be tolerated in the ranks of science.
You have been received into the ranks of the faithful.
Correct, that is true. I must eat now.
We lock up at 8.
I'm glad I came.
You're a teacher yourself now. How can you bear to shake my hand? Someone passing through gave us geese. I still love to eat.
So you no longer believe a new age has dawned?
Oh, yes. It's a new age, all right. But be careful going through Germany with the truth under your coat.
What you said about the writer, I have to tell you, I do not share your views. I don't know what to tell you, but I don't think this will be the last word.
Thank you, Senor.
We don't welcome visitors from the past. They upset him.
Have you no idea, Virginia, who sent these geese?
Not Andrea.
I guess not. What's the night like?
Clear.
The Italian frontier, 1637. Early morning, almost dark, mist. A frontier guard waiting. Then Andrea appears with his baggage in the near dark and puts it down in front of the guard. He gives him his papers. The guard looks at them. Then the guard returns the papers and opens his bags. He searches through his clothes. He finds the book inside. The guard takes it out and starts to look through the pages. Andrea watches intently. The guard frowns looking at it.
It's in Latin.
The guard nods slightly. Then he hands the book back to him. Andrea puts it in his luggage and closes it up. He takes his bags in his hands.
Let him through!
The The barrier across the road is lifted. In the early morning mist, Andrea walks towards the frontier.